But for the start in our inaugural voyage here, are there any questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to round up?
So we're starting right on the couch with the mesmerizing cloth thing with the dead baby, if I remember correctly, right?
You think you're on a couch? The best way to envision where they are, well, where they were when we left, because things do change. Time always moves forward. It is ever the thief of always. When we last left the coterie, they were in various states of rest, whether that was absent-mindedly on their feet, collapsed onto their knees, some lounging on the ground completely, and in this basement area of a church. I'm not sure if you've ever had the unenviable pleasure of visiting a hoarder's basement or a neighborhood church's basement with a wealth of boxes of various seasonal decorations. You have files going back to the Dark Ages. You have a floor that hasn't been swept since brooms were invented. And more times than not, you have several chairs arranged around the far edges of the space. So for all of that, and you add into the fact that this basement is actually stonework and not brick and plaster, in the center of which is an altar of cemetery stone, the same sort of stones that they used to use in the old cemeteries, the shale and quartz-like granular stones. That altar is made out of that material, and on that altar, that circular cross-shaped altar, is actually a throne made of the same material. On that throne is the newly or freshly dug up corpse of a small person. Whether that person was a child or a small woman is indiscernible at this point, because the corpse has collapsed in on itself with age. It's blackened and caked with cemetery dirt and rot. If you look closely inside of some of the orifices where the soft tissue were, there are still the sounds and signs and crawling, wriggling of the bugs that were there. And amidst all of that rack and ruin is this bright, vibrant, healthy tongue as it speaks in a raspy voice, because after all, there's no air in the lungs. But that's where we left everyone.
Yeah, we're screwed.
We'll make it out.
In one way or another, spiritually or physically, yes.
One way. I'm sorry.
Any other questions? Any suggestions?
Not this time, I don't think. Volume levels seem good.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the only thing, I'm not exactly sure the most graceful way to enter into a scene like that, so I will defer to you on that.
Oh, no. Grace is a thing we say for dinner parties. In this particular case, to give a little bit of assistance in envisioning how we move, when we left the coterie where they were, in that scene, as the episode closed out, we continued in post. And if I don't know if you had a chance to look over some of what's been in open play there, but that's while their bodies are still, or were still in that area, their minds experience memories from the past. Their minds, each of the characters had an opportunity to walk through some of the hinted at errors or potential areas for growth and improvement, with clues towards how they individually could survive and surmount the entrancement that they are under. So, to help with getting the good doctor where he needs to be, Being a member of the faculty for the university, there are certain fellowships and associations that come part and party to his position. To keep up the mask and and the ability to avoid the daytime functions, the meetings, the birthday parties, the long financial discussions as to what the department needs and how many of the incoming funds will be allocated, how far in arrears, all of that minutia that typically happens during the day for the departments. To avoid that through careful manipulation, extortion, emotional blackmail, he has to attend each and every after-hours function. Unfortunately for him, that function had him at Indiana University Northwest. The campus, he knows, is not necessarily fond of kindred. There's a certain wariness that the students have, a certain watchfulness that is uncomfortable in the best of times and downright quietly offended and offensive at the worst of times. Rude statements, glares, the feeling of always being watched is not an easy one to swallow, especially living in this case, for the good doctor, a triple life, as it were. In this particular instance, having left the history department fellowship, exiting towards his car as quickly and quietly without drawing too much attention, the doctor notices several individuals he's met along the way. One of them standing out clearly because Ben very much is hard to notice. Her musculature, her stature, the fact that she looks as if she lifts cars for practice. And that's not too far from the truth, considering all of the fabrication and motor work that she actually does. The fact that there are not one, but clearly 4 kindred traipsing from the university is most curious, because as everyone will always espouse, knowledge is power. And being unnoticed as you are, you follow them as they make their way across the city. Staying far enough back to not attract attention, occasionally turning off your lights and pulling the side of the road so they don't notice that you're there. Because the whole point is to follow unnoticed, to find out what they are up to, because, well, where there's smoke, there's always fire. It doesn't take too long before they are on the west side of Gary. Now, the west side of Gary isn't quite as dilapidated, nor deserted, nor, let's just be perfectly honest, depressingly sad as the rest of Gary. The buildings aren't nearly as abandoned. There aren't any signs of true urban decay. In fact, if you only judge Gary by the west side, you think that it was just a quiet suburb. Just your average Midwestern, Middle American quiet suburb. That is until they arrive and alight at a church. That is not what it seems. As someone who pulls the wool as often as possible, who has explored and counted on the various confidence games of several governments as part of their lectures, it is clear that not everything is as it seems, especially when you have 4 kindred willingly walking into the church, surrounded by men and women in green and gold robes, full-on actual robes, not the bathrobes or the silk kimonos that many people wear. No, these are clearly of some religious significance. And then all the lights go off once they're inside. The police that have been sitting out front drive away. The area seems far too quiet, as if nothing has ever been active in the area, even though he witnessed all of the hullabaloo. Curious is not just a word, but it very much is the vibe. Because there's something afoot, something pertaining to or associating with kindred society at large. And that's where we pick up with the good doctor. What do you think you'd do in that situation?
I would definitely tail from a distance. Duma would tail and try to keep a distance, although he's definitely very conscious that he's not the most stealthy person in the universe. He would definitely try to find out what's going on and get a little closer.
Okay. Well, in that case, what normally would happen is that would come down to Dice's fiat. Would you be so kind as to roll your wits plus stealth?
A difficulty 6?
We to obviate and minimize as many of the naturally occurring bestials and random mistakes that pop up because fate has it in for you. We typically do a contested roll or standard. So give it a roll and see where you land.
So I'm just curious about the command. So is it !V46? Because I have a wits plus stealth of 4.
Yes, it would be your 4, your hunger, which is 1, and and a 0 if you want to fill in that third space. That's where the difficulty, if given, would go. All right, looky. That's always off to a good start. What that means is that in the course of watching this church, in the course of watching the lights go out, Numa hits upon the great idea that there's always a back door. There's always another way in. And so instead of walking up to the front door, he cases out the place and finds that if he slides along the western portion of the building or through the parking lot around the side, there's guaranteed to be a door somewhere in that area based on how the church is set and how far it is from the street. It doesn't take him long to cover that distance quietly. He is the very definition of stealth. And as he makes it closer to the church and slides along the side, there's something that pops up in his head, some random thought that refuses to leave him be. Crossing the street, making his way across the parking lot, making his way along the side of the building, almost the entirety of the front portion of the building is glass. And then the door opens.
What do I see on the other side when it opens?
Several individuals in green and gold reaching for you as if they are swallowing you into the very definition of hell.
Goodness gracious. Salutations. I don't even know if he'd have a chance to even speak in a situation like that. Do I have any ability to resist that, or
you definitely can? You definitely can. Would you attempt to dip, duck, and dodge, or would you attempt to muscle your way free?
I think Duma would muscle his way free. I don't think he has the agility to roll out of there.
All right, sounds like a plan. So as the hands and the steely grip of these, for lack of a better word, cultists, these religious zealots, reach and grab and claw and pull, Duma wrestles and pushes and strains. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your strength plus athletics? It is literally a monster where the face hugger manages to bound off the corners of the Nostromo and land smack dab in the middle of the face of his target. Except for in this case, it is the reverse of that, as Numa pushes and strains and attempts to call out, "Get your hands off of me, sir!" He is pulled into the gaping door. He's pulled into the darkness. Now, most people believe that common gossip and mythology would state that kindred, being creatures of the night, kindred being vampires after all, see in the dark. They can do things that humans can't. While they can, in fact, do things that living, breathing humans cannot, they are, unfortunately, not all gifted with the ability to see in low light, let alone nearly no light. It is with some straining of his senses, listening to the quiet, susurrus whispers happening off in the distance as he is manhandled down the stairs, that a dread creeps along the base of his spine. If he was alive, he'd be soaked in flop sweat, the very real fear of the unknown, the electric crinkling of energy along his skin. He is entering into a place that is overwrought with the trappings of a monstrous cult. It smells like grave rot. It smells like something dank and dark. It smells like, oh fucking hell, a typical standard average church basement. There are boxes lined up to the wall. You can see tinsel hanging out of one. You can see the well-traveled linoleum that's pulling up at the edges. And everything seems almost normal until you make that left into the larger chamber. And you realize where that scent of the earth is coming from. On the floor, loosely standing clearly out of it, were the kindred that you'd followed this far. And with that, we pause. And I'd like to say, hi, Ben. How we doing? Excellent. Do we have any questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to wrap?
Did the cops leave?
The cops. Yes, the cops are no longer an actual factor. What is a factor is we'll get to very, very shortly. Are there any other questions, any suggestions, any curiosities as to what will be happening where we are? We have roughly about 60 seconds until our harsh...
I do have a question. Where am I?
You are loosely standing at the altar, that horror that is the corpse, that fresh, soft pink tone in front of you. You, Ben, Marcus, Mason, are wholly entranced. Your bodies are there, but your mind, as you all had the opportunity to experience through our prompts, through our play-by-post, were in the past. You are in the past. Your bodies are there, lights are on, but there's no one home. Everyone's, crashed out or left for the evening. That moment of searching the area around the helicopter, Leontia, that moment of watching Olivia fade into the darkness, bandit, that moment of understanding the true horror of being in the company of some makes you very for the breathe and punish every action with pain and pleasure. And I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed is where Mason is. That moment of failure and rousing success of escape and ostracization, the foundation of what he had existed as for the past few years is where Marcus is. And now, thrust into the scene, is Dr. Grizwald. Is being pulled along towards the center of the scene. Because while from where he stands, he has the back of Bartleby and the altar, what he can see as he is forced down the stairs towards Bartleby are the four. Now, with that scene in mind, I want to thank you all, because I don't know if you exactly how much I enjoy playing with you guys, playing at all, getting this opportunity to step away from real life and visit the land of horrific make-believe that they inhabit. As a third of the whole story that we're telling, it always means a lot of a chance to play. So I want to thank you guys for sharing your time with me, sharing this time with all of us, and putting forth all the effort that you have, because it really has shown a lot. There's been a lot of growth. There's been a lot of moments that will live in infamy. And this exploration means a lot to me. So, if there are no further questions, suggestions...
I do have one question.
Fire away.
You cut out briefly when you mentioned what my perspective was. I'm forced onto my knees, and what do I see?
Well, you're being forced down the stairs from the west side of the room. So imagine a hallway opening into this pseudo grand chamber, and by grand, it is most basements are barely a story. This one is at a story and a half. So that flight of stairs that you're being forced down is in fact a full flight of stairs. From that angle on the west side of the room or the left side of your mental map, the area opens up in front of you, and in the near center of it is a stone edifice of some sort. From this angle of rounded stone edifice, there's clearly religious symbology carved in and around it. On the opposite side of that stone, there's the top balding pate of some gentlemen in blue. Around them in a semicircle are several men and women dressed in green and gold robes. However, down here, they actually have the full finery and adornment on. They actually are wearing gold masks as well. In the center, just past the gentleman in blue, are the four kindred in various states of fugue states. It is clear that they are focused on the stone edifice at the center of this room. Around the edges are various boxes, tableware, and what you would normally expect in a church basement. On the far side, almost directly diagonal from where the stairs are another flight of stairs that lead up clearly into the main portion of the church.
Cool. And so the idol or whatever it is that's in the center, the pillar, is there any kind of religious iconography on it that's obvious, or is it just like am I unable to see it because it's dark?
You're unable to make out the exact details, but the religious symbology is clearly there. You see a few stylized, almost Celtic cross, but that, again, being such a common idea, doesn't mean that it's actually a Celtic cross. It could be a Nordic, it could be a later Latin Roman cross. The details of it are fuzzy and hazy. There's just a slew of religious and pseudo-religious symbology across this edifice that's there.
Cool, got it.
All right, so that being the case, and with us having reached our point of actual hard start, I'd like to let you all know that this is officially, for the record, Steel Hearts, Rust Souls, Season 2, Episode 5. If you honor your boss, you'll be honored. And with that recap, and with that setting sitting before us, as Dr. Grizwald is forced into the center of the open, and he gets a chance to see the corpulent, strangely large body of Bartleby with his accursed handkerchief weaved slowly and languorously through the air, and the small, clearly freshly dug corpse sitting upon the altar, which is in fact a throne. Its body having nearly completely desiccated, black and stained, and looks as if it had been in the ground long enough that all of its features have melded into this horrific approximation of living. The eyes are gone, empty holes, its teeth covered in a film that had been away at it. The sound of bugs skittering and inside it, just loud enough to make the skin crack. And Bartleby, a jovial little imp, though he's far taller than you'd expect. Imp, his blue suit and red handkerchief waving. Oh, Well, now, you are not an invited guest. Before I take your mind from you, may I have your name? I'm called Bartleby.
Hello, Bartleby. I'm Professor Grizwald, and I was not expecting a greeting of this sort. This place is an apotheosis to what I was expecting underneath such a sanctified place. I see you're up to something nefarious here. And my attentions are nothing of the sort. I saw something suspicious is all. Is there no negotiating this?
Of course there is. Would you like me to enlighten you as to what will happen to you and your friends before? Or would you like to say a prayer?
You seem like a gentleman, Mr. Bartleby, a bonhomie sort of gentleman, if I don't mind supposing. You're saying there's no negotiating. You're saying that my choices are just to pray or to ask you what before me. Are you truly? There's nothing that you desire.
There's always desire. And the discussion of the matter is almost succinctly curtailed as you realize that there is quite an amazing factor to that handkerchief. It is mesmerizing. It pulls the gaze. It attracts your attention. And you suddenly begin to feel a small bit lethargic. Your limbs feel heavier. Your eyelids feel as if they are easing to a complete close. You feel suddenly heavy all over. Would you sometimes go ahead and roll composure and wits for me, please? That is a very, very good. Unfortunately, it does not meet the threshold. It gives you an opportunity to do one action before your gaze and your attention, your focus is completely stolen from you. What is your one action?
I think I'm tempted to use a discipline here, but I don't think I have anything that useful in this situation. I think the only thing I can do is just lash out and try attacking him with my fists.
All right, excellent. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll strength plus
Strength plus brawl, did you say?
Yes.
Cool.
All right. Now. There are certain things that people don't expect, and that is rash action of a singular person with nothing to lose, and so they have reached the maximum level. In this moment of panic, in this moment of fear, that's exactly where the good doctor has arrived to. That moment of all and nothing, or all or nothing. Either way, he's going to go out with a swing that makes it all worth it. In the jostling of getting to Bartleby, covering that 15 feet of space, he has managed to jostle and knock over a few of the cultists who were attempting to hold him until they no longer needed to. The relaxing of the muscles had begun, so they felt that things were looking in their direction. And as Duma lashes out, Jocelyn the cultist, Ben. Somehow, in the fume of Olivia disappearing, the diner begins to shake and rattle, and the ceiling begins to fall in. Marcus, as the bag is here to obfuscate your sense, blind so they can get you to the back of the helicopter so that fly to the private airport to which you will be banished from the city because of your actions. The bag tears and rips, and you can see just outside on the helipad is all of the stone that is crawling up the sides of empty space. Leonte, as you scan the area, being wary of the walls on your tail, the fact that this is set up in an ambush, the helicopter explodes in front of you. And Mason, as you and Marion step from the car, the building begins to fall in on itself right in front of your very eyes. And while that's all happening physically, the cultists are then force the doctor to the ground to keep contact with, being a distraction to what is needed. The speaks. Let him go. And he begins to pull away from you, fingers having just brushed across the lapel. Bartleby's corpulent form, your gaze locked on the umbrella, flagging and waving, and the cult is extracting and extricating themselves, tangled limbs, mess they made, falling for the coterie numbers. If you all would like to fight the horrific moments that are being torn from Joshua, be stepping on and the stepping over, would you all be so kind as to resolve plus composure?
What was it again?
Resolve plus composure to fight free.
Resolve plus composure, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you unfortunately you are breaking up slightly for me, so I don't know. Maybe it's my internet. I don't know.
Sorry about that. Discord has a mind of it. All right, so as you all realize that you are in the base standing before the cultists and Bartleby, and that for those forced moments of internal inspection, living those moments over again, being face to face with those scars. That's what they are. That's what memories all are. They're scars on the brain. Now, some of those scars are helpful and they help us build, lessons that we take to heart. Others, they're just bruises and places we seek to avoid. For many of you, for some of you, that's exactly what memories. Places that you choose not to visit, places you choose not to pick the scabs. But the one thing that is certain, whether it is a moment of personal growth, a fond reflection, a bittersweet succulent, that motherfucker there is the person responsible for it. That corpse that is wagging his tongue and whispering some order is the author of this situation. You all went through what you went through because of them, because of these cultists. And that's not something that you all can accept lightly. You're not sure when the good doctor arrived, but there he is. And there they are. In alphabetical order, what are you guys doing?
Ben is literally going to mark in her head where Bartleby is, shut her eyes, and put every ounce of strength and power into moving her legs. She is going to take him the fuck down.
Doctor, as the world begins to fade around the edges and you're jostled forward, what is it that the one action that you're doing?
Duma noticed that the handkerchief was the catalyst, so I don't know if he can do anything at this point, but he would be thinking of a way to remove that handkerchief from Bartleby.
Okay. And Leonti.
As Leonti sees the world.
His mic isn't working.
No, wait. Can you guys hear me or not?
Yes,
I can hear you.
Yeah, I figured it out. I figured it out, Sam. So as he wakes up, he's brought back into reality. He sees what is going on, and one of his instant reactions is to try to shoot the handkerchief out of Bartleby's hand.
Okay.
With his hand again.
Okay. Marcus.
My action depends on one fact. Did they take the box from me?
No, you left the box in the van.
No, I took the box with me.
Oh, okay. Well then, no, they haven't had the opportunity to take the box yet.
The box is a very important part about this plan. So, I'm going to use the discipline, because I can. Since Bartleby lost control for a half a second, I'm going to take advantage of that fact. And Marcus and his little box are going to blink. Right to the corpse. And try to grab that fucking tongue.
Excellent. Mason?
I'm gonna use awe to, distract his cultists in the room. Are there other cultists besides what's his name?
There are.
Bartleby?
Yes, there's a baker's dozen, and you're not sure how many more are left in the church and building around you.
Yeah, basically Mason just a big twirl and be like, "Give me attention," and, with his sword drawn, if he has his cane.
No.
He doesn't have his cane. He have his pen.
He has a pen. Now, here's the thing to keep in mind, and I only offer this because Mason's in the moment. He realizes that you all have their attention. You're fighting free. You're ruining their festivities. You all have their attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I was saying so they'd all focus on me, not whatever the other coterie members were doing.
Okay.
Like they focus on taking down Bartleby, where I focus on being a distraction for all the other guards.
Okay. All right. Well, that being the case, Ben, would you roll your strength plus brawl? Doctor, would you be so kind as to roll your dexterity and athletics as you travel get to the handkerchief and pry it from his fingers?
That's not going to go well.
Leonti, would you be so kind as to go ahead and your dexterity and firearms? You need a minimum of 5 successes. Marcus, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll as you get close to the corpse and reach for the tongue? Would you be so kind as to roll your resolve and brawl? And Mason, I need you to roll your dexterity, athletics, or strength in the athletics, because catching their attention as they are mid-leap and grappled means that they are dogpiling.
Okay, so dex and athletics, or strength and athletics?
Yeah, so you're going to attempt to wrestle them off of you, dodge out of the... That's the difference between the two.
Dodge out of the way then. His dex and strength are the same, so. What?
Right.
Sometimes I hate this game.
If I had known it was going to be dexterity and athletics, I would not have done what I did. So.
Reaching into a corpse's mouth and trying to pull out a tongue. I don't want to hear about your problems.
Listen, mate, you are a corpse. What are you worried about?
Oh, yes. There's a reason why it's resolved.
Yeah, I assumed. I was not happy when you said that.
All right, so take a quick gander at the results here. Now that everyone is rolled, and there's a lot of things happen. As always in situations when the feces meets the fan, there is a spray of sorts. And to say that you guys are covered in it would be an understatement. And I don't like to make understatements. The doctor goes scrabbling free, leaping his limbs, going to sleep. Space. Ben pushes past and manages to connect with Bartleby, but he's surprisingly solid, which gives a small pause because his body talked, jowls flopped and acted as if they were almost alive. But as Ben lays hands on, there's a sudden density that is unexpected. That density triggering a ghost of memory of combative trainings. And while the women didn't receive the same level or even the same quality of combative training, even during the war, there was the expectation that they have the basic fundamentals of how to throw a punch, of how to use someone's momentum against them, and if necessary, how to scratch and gouge and get away so someone else can come to assist them. Unfortunately, Ben lucked out and landed with a combative trainer that had every intention of making sure that each of them able to not only dish out a punch, slap, kick, or gouge, but to take one as well. And for a brief moment, you can see Madam Fredrickson, her large, wide face bearing down on her, every intention of making sure that Ben landed in the infirmary. And unfortunately, intentions don't quite match ability. In this particular case, fate conspiring against the good doctor, causing him to trip and fall, his limbs go numb, and begins to think on, and he fights to not be pulled into that moment where his maker, his sire, took interest and revealed just how strong the dead can be. As he fights free of that, a gust of fresh air and the sound of thunder smacking against the side of his face past him. He feels the after effects of the wall of force sound as the gun goes off. You hear a cry of pain as the bullet just misses Ben, tearing a hole into Bartleby's hand. While that is happening,
sorry.
While that is happening, Mason, you are the definition of grace under fire. In the actual case, using direct language, being a little pedantic, you are the definition of grace under bodies, as one after the other cultists who were intending to perhaps corral, to capture, to force down the other members of your coterie, instead focus on your form. They focus on getting to that bright light, that glittering vampire stepping out into the bright, wrong franchise, but they focus on you. And one, not a problem. Two, Easy as pie. 3, things are getting a little difficult, and before 4 can make it to 7, you are being forced to the cold stone floor. The only saving grace in your mind is at least you don't have to listen to or see Bartleby and that damn handkerchief, because, well, as it stands, the robes are clearly not washed as often as they should be. Marcus? Marcus, as you cover the ground faster than like the gingerbread man himself, making his way to freedom, your hand reaches forth and you connect with that suddenly slimy, gets covered, not hard, not soft, some state in between tongue, your forefinger and thumb raising the lid on your box as you're attempting to pull it free, and the hands of the thing wrap around you. Where they touch, you can smell and feel as the flesh begins to cauterize. You are unable to pull the tongue free of the corpse, and it seems as the corpse has every intention of dragging you into hell with it. As your bile rises, realizing how slick and slimy the tongue is, Ben, there's no way that something this large should be that solid. And then the shout, the grazing blow of the shot comes racing past you, tearing into his hand, which is holding the handkerchief, causing it by sheer force to open. What are you doing? Ben, can you hear me?
No, we lost you there.
Yeah, I didn't quite get the last of it.
Okay, what are you doing? The hand tears open. His gaze flicks to you. You're in the fire from the shot. And he's moving to his right, your left, pivoting. What are you doing?
I keep my eyes closed because I don't know that the handkerchief is not a threat anymore. And I try to get my upper arm like around his neck to lock it so that I can squeeze and maybe pop the neck, pop the head off.
All right, go ahead and roll your strength and brawl. Doctor, as you pull yourself and fight off that moment, would you be so kind to go ahead and roll your resolve composure? Your target number is 3. You managed to keep from being dark miasma. You see Ben attempting to wrestle with Bartleby. You know that there was a shot that went past you from over your right shoulder towards the Bartleby. You're not sure exactly what happened because he's pivoting, keeping Ben between you and the marksman or the shooter, whoever. You hear the sounds of scuffling, and you see to your left, just left of Ben, a scraggly-haired gentleman who is part of the coterie here, is wrestling with and the scent of burning flesh easily reaches your nose. You do.
So Duma recognizes the I mean, he's pretty myopic at this point, and he's gonna charge at Bartleby and assist Ben in restraining him, and he's gonna activate prowess, and hopefully to increase his strength to hold him, help her hold him down.
Okay. Second here. That is going to be because it is a strength attack. Just to make sure here. Trusty rusty do. All right.
And I have level 2 potence.
Okay. All right, so go ahead and roll your strength roll. And while that roll is happening, Beyonce, the shot hit. It hits exactly as it did in the Old West. Most people think when the proud, brave, strong marshal walked into town and he shot the guns out of the bad guy's hand, that the gun was the only thing damaged. In truth, that did happen during the Old West. Guns were shot out of people's hands. However, hot lead and the slugs typically tore through either fingers or palms or thumbs, sometimes burying themselves directly into the wrist. And that's exactly what happened with Bartleby. Ahead of you, there's a scent of burning flesh. You're not sure exactly where it's coming from, either to your left, to the left of Ben, where Marcus is. There's a small whiff of smoke, or Bartleby. You're not sure which, but you do know that your shot did land. But Bartleby is using Ben, who is rising into a almost flying chokehold of sorts. So your shot is cleared. You need to either shoot around her or get closer. What is it that you're doing?
Leonetti, right now. Okay. Leonetti is getting pretty. As the beast within sees weakness as his prey is showing that it's trying to get away from him, trying to avoid him. His deep inability, his deep urges for hunting come out, and he becomes, as well as his nature, the nature of his clan, he becomes reckless as he charges up, pulling out his sniper rifle to make a shot at Beelzebub.
Okay. Dexterity firearms. Give it a shot. And while that's happening,
what was the it was dexterity?
Yes, dexterity and firearms. Okay. And while that is happening, Marcus, are you going to continue attempting to relinquish or the tongue?
I'm smoking now, right? That's my current state?
Yeah, the corpse has both hands wrapped around your wrist, while your left is holding the box open or flipping it with your index finger and thumb to open it, while bracing it with your bottom 3 fingers. The corpse has locked both hands around your wrist, and where the corpse is actually touching your body, there is the burning of flesh. There's a wisp of smoke rising from where its hands are on yours. Your fingers are barely able to hold the slick, mucus-covered tongue. What is it that you're attempting to do?
Okay, I'm going to rouse my blood, and with all my strength, I'm going to grip that fucking slimy piece of yuck. And yank as hard as I can.
All right. That being the case, go ahead and roll strength plus brawl.
Let me roll the rouse first. Yeah.
Okay, so total of 3 successes and light to get the tongue free. But in the accumulation of the vitae, burning eases some, and you can feel the stretching of whatever it is, connective tissues, keeping the tongue in place. The horse's grip is surprisingly strong, but the heat has lessened, as if there is a freeing of something, a lessening of another. And while that struggle is happening and the vitae-soaked blood, the vitae-soaked sweat begins to pour down the center of Marcus's back from the effort, Mason, why can't people use deodorant on a regular basis? Why don't they wash their robes with some regular? They can't be wearing this all the time. Otherwise, you're sure it will smell worse, but they are clearly properly washing it or deodorizing it between wears. The accumulated sense is the effrontery to the very idea of your blood. Their press of the unwashed masses, huddling in their attempt to cause traumatic crushing damage to you, as they have literally dogpiled you to the ground, each of them scrabbling, trying to take a piece of you as if you were some boy band rock star that Mason is doing.
Now, these are only humans, if I remember correctly, right?
Only humans built the pyramid. Yes, they're human, they're kind.
Yeah, which means their sustenance and also a little weaker. So Mason, at the same time, he tries to, if his arm is locked down that's holding his pen, he'll try to free that and then start stabbing, and then also start biting.
Alright, so we need a brawl and strength roll.
Strength with what? You were cutting out a little bit there.
Strength and brawl, what's the total?
Oh, okay. Total is strength 3, brawl 1, 4.
Minimum. Have and we're gonna have you roll one die, the split action, instead of splitting it 2 and 2.
Wait, can you say that again?
Instead of splitting your die pool 2 and 2, we're gonna have you roll with a total of 3 die versus 2.
3 die versus 2. Oh,
Right.
So difficulty 2 and wait. Just okay, sorry. Why does that keep happening to me?
Fate has conspired against you. All right, so the result of our most recent fracas is that everyone has been successful in a way that causes pain and injurious harm to everything that they're aiming towards. Bartleby, realizing just how the conclusion of this evening is. All right, there we go. Thinks that he has the perfect example and perfect way free. Dodging just outside of Ben's grasp, he manages to fall. His arm, unfortunately, isn't nearly as lucky. The injured Ben connection wraps around that fat, jowly, turkey-legged jiggliness that is his arm. She realizes that exterior, beneath the flabby exterior, there is some undead muscles, far more than he has any right to have access to. And she wrenches. The moment that she wrenches Leonetti, spelled Leonti, dashes past her, just as a horrible animalistic growl breaks free of the good doctor as he leaps upon Bartleby's center mass as Leonetti's miraculously appeared sniper rifle explodes Bartleby's sternum. The tear of ligaments in the arm adding to that damage, leaving very little left of the center mass as the good doctor lands, forcing the top half, ignoring the missing third center, to collapse into the bottom half of his torso, while there is a scream as Marcus has nearly freed the tongue, which suddenly begins to dry as he pulls with nearly all of his might. The humans are yelling in pain as Mason gives as good as he gets.
What does that mean? Gets as good as it gets?
Well, you have the attention of 13 units, bare minimum 13 points of superficial damage. You are doing that same back to that whole team. Each of your successes counting against their successes, giving as good as you get. There's no way that you, living human, could survive the crush and press of all of the bodies. There's no way that any breathing would be able to stomach that mess and return the damage to that large body of flailing limbs and tearing fingers and the occasional dirty tightness of someone biting your calf and someone else trying to pull your hair out by its roots.
Okay. Do I get to make another action or not?
Yes, Ben.
Is Bartleby sufficiently downed?
You wouldn't know your eyes are closed. You do.
Well, has he stopped wiggling?
No, he's dead. He's dead already. Remember, he has a kindred. Him and injurious. What is it that you are attempting to do?
She wants his head off his body, so she's going to keep pulling until it gets free.
Okay.
That's funny because I was going to say, if I'm still raging, maybe I would bite him and start drinking from his corpse. But if you're going to pull his head off, maybe I'll do something different. I don't know.
So what is it that you are attempting? What is your most animalistic drive in this moment? After being mentally hijacked, after being dragged by the less than sanitary members of this cult, after being forced into a moment of sheer panic as your mind, greatest asset, was taken from you. What does the animal say?
Duma is furious that he was disrespected. He offered to have a conversation and to negotiate, and he was not heard. And he wants respect from the cult, but he doesn't have the control to go for that respect. So I think he is interested in their complete demise. So I think if Bartleby really is dead, is it obvious to Duma that he's dead, or is he still like
flailing and fighting? Yes, but it is clear that he has reached the point of there's no doubt in anyone or any that he is in fact a ambulance. like a lot of you. There's a missing portion of his chest, and a portion of his lung is actually exposed. White of his bone is visible, and his suit is ruined.
Okay. I think if he's seeing lungs, if he's seeing the white of bone, then Duma will release his hold of Bartleby, and he will turn to the nearest kind, or the nearest cultist, I should say, and he wants to slam one of them against the wall and sort of scream at them and say something like, "Who are you, and what gives you the authority to disrespect me?" He'll throw their head into throw their skull into the wall and maybe try to crack it open, or at least try to get an answer from them, if nothing else. Who are they and what they're doing? If he doesn't just kill them immediately. So maybe I would describe that as very, very messy interrogation.
All right, sounds like a plan. Would you be so kind of go ahead and run? As you cover the distance between you dog pile of cultists who are kicking, screaming, pulling, biting, and otherwise engage in a near orgiastic display of simple childish violence, attempting to visit that upon Mason, who's at the bottom of this dog pile of flailing limbs and frenetic activity. They are literally using the most basic, childish, animalistic attempts to tear him limb from limb. Being a learned man, the first thing that pops into the doctor's mind is the tale of Orpheus. See, the shot goes off. There is a rewarding scent of kindred Vitae meeting air. And would you be so kind as to resolve and closure?
Okay. Let's see now. Something
Storyteller, did you get the aside I sent you?
Yes, toughness doesn't work that way. Damage. And surprisingly, Nianti managed to keep your composure. You managed to not give in to that pure animalistic need that's sitting right there in front of you. You know that corpulent kindred is filled with what the only thing that you need. What is your action?
Leonetti, while keeping himself composed and saying still, as you said, he craves this. He craves this man to be prey. Instead, he wishes for him to be in a state of groveling, but he prefers his death more than groveling, as his beast very much calls for this creature's blood. As he moves up as close as he can possibly get to try to get his revolver his gun right into this man's head and pull the trigger.
Okay. Go ahead and dexterity
and
firearms, yes. And Marcus, while that roll is happening, and while the doctor is carrying the cultist, the pile that is Mason, with blood splurting and flying everywhere, bits and tufts of hair, and all manner of violence being this soup of energy. Marcus, you've touched worse things. Can't remember when exactly, and this will definitely count as, one of the top singular moments of your life of touching something that is so inherently disgusting. If you were still breathing across your several dozen times. Luckily, you aren't human. Otherwise, the burns that are searing the skin into the surface of your bone, the muscle being cooked away like the deadest, most out-of-date steaks possible, would have caused you to buckle under the pain, would have caused you to be an amputee at this point, would have lost all use of that hand. Do you continue, or do you try to extricate yourself?
Oh no, this is my single purpose in life. I touched the damn thing, I'm keeping it. At this point,
he touches it, it hurts him. He's like, ooh, this is my purpose in life.
I touched it, I'm keeping it. And this time I am going to, I've already roused my strength as high as I can get it. Just forewarning for the storyteller, I will be burning willpower for any failure I roll.
All right, let's make it happen.
Keep ripping that thing out of her face.
Wait, okay. Never mind. What does rouse do?
Rousing the blood lets you increase a physical stat, or it allows you to increase one set of stats, either physical, social, or mental, by 1 point, depending on your blood potency. Blood potency 1, you can raise it by 1.
What about 2? I'm guessing 1 as well.
No, blood potency 2, you can raise. Oh wait, actually, I have to look that up because I forget. I don't know when you can raise when rousing does more.
There's a chart that's in the companion. You can go ahead, Control F that to find the chart in the companion that you have access to way up to. Mason. There is a lightening of the load upon makes a difference. There is a certain miasma and claustrophobia that comes as the blood spills to and across your face. There is a very real idea that perhaps it's not as clear as it should. These people are high on God knows what, or out of their mind, because there is a mania that crawls underneath that claustrophobia beginning to settle in, because they have pulled and mussed your hair. They have scratched and pulled away bits of your finery. Someone has put their mouth against your pants leg and attempted to bite a hole into your calf. These people are absolutely insane, and there's a very good chance that it may be contagious. What is it that you're doing?
I am definitely screaming at these people to get off me. And, being very pompous about it, and again, just trying to break my way out of this wall of flesh that is on top of me. Stabbing if I can.
Excellent. I'm just going to go ahead and strength and athletics, because the goal is to escape this point.
Also kill as many as possible, but yes. Oh, wait, rolled that wrong. Alright.
All right. So with this manic, frantic, hard scrabble, blood-soaked, animalistic, outright bestial assault on the senses, there are screams of pain and anguish and fury and the grunting of effort. There's a crying child somewhere in the midst of all these raised dead voices and raised living voices. It is a child crying over it, and is rising to the level that it is the loudest voice. After all of the growls and the tearing of flesh, the explosion of firearms, the slapping of bodies as they fall, and the grunt of effort from Marcus as there's a real Herculean effort on his part to wrench free the animating, vile, creeping tongue. And as it tears free of the corpse, and Ben manages to hold free the unconnected arm of Bartleby, and the corpse falls from the combined assault of Ben, the doctor, and the auntie, Leonetti. The cultists feel lighter, as if some rubber band has broken, as if some tether has been snatched free. And while Marcus stands less than 3 feet from the freshly dug up that begins to liquefy as he watches, holding tongue in his hand as it begins to grow and wrap itself around burned portion that the corpse was holding, adhering like a slug, or better yet, like a leech, as it attempts to connect with him in a level that, well, most people would pay to be as close as that. Mason finally frees this happening. The cracked skull of the cultist, unable to answer the good doctor's question as he hurls across the floor, turns and sees this happening because the tongue, and it very much is a tongue, begins to look less and less dry and desiccated. It looks more like it is absorbing something. Eating.
So I ripped the little fucker loose.
You tore it, screaming from the head and out. Stop. It's free.
Okay, well, let me know when I have an action, because I have an action.
Eat it.
Oh. You're fired.
I mean, it has blood in it. You could probably suck it dry, right?
Fired. Did I not say that loud enough? Fired.
I don't work for you in this chronicle.
He means in every chronicle. Ben?
Once the arm comes free, they'll finally open their eyes to see where they are. Because obviously it feels like danger has passed now, and they need to be able to see. So they drop the arm and look around.
That's the sound that the fat dying of an arm makes as it slaps against the floor. The weight and heft of it easily topping somewhere 45 to 50 pounds.
Yeah, that's gross. They look around. Are the cultists kind of snapping out of it? Are they still dogpile? Does Marcus need help? What does it look like?
The cultists, there's a snapping of something, and that's something their sanity. For in this time, they have been privy to, witness to, and party to. They were able to easily ignore, or they were easily able to justify. But being free of the effects, Bartleby and the tongue, as it is focused on working its way towards consuming the full, their screams of rage and anger turn to screams of insanity. Their screams and growls, yell, grunts of effort as they are attempting to tear themselves in the to suns and shreds of itself. The doctor across the room just knocked free, cracking it open, the blood splattering. Nathan extricating himself predominantly roughly I'll cultist. And Leonti is standing with his gun extended, just like after having exploded the agent's head. That you're doing.
So, we should probably go because all this noise is going to bring the cops back, and we don't want to be here when they come back. So whatever things we need to get and get out, we should do.
Mason looks at the cultist real quick and then goes, like, immediately thinks we should cut them up, and then he looks to Ben and goes, "You're right, like, we should get out of here." Because he's trying to be more mature.
Leonetti does ask for one thing, that we bring that some part of Beelzebub with us to confirm his death.
Well, the arm is on the floor.
Okay, let's bring it.
I'm not touching that thing.
I know he's fine with touching it. He just grabs and it's like, okay, let's go.
Marcus, what are you doing?
Freaking out.
Mm-hmm. Doctor, what are you doing?
Duma drops I don't know if they're a corpse at this point, but the person he was interrogating. He's not got much to say to the kin of Cuculain, do he? And he'll drop the corpse and look around at the other kindred, and he's realizing
I
recognize you.
His senses are coming back, and yeah, the accent is definitely very distinct. If you ever heard Duma speak, you probably would remember it. He does recognize some of the people in the room, but he doesn't recognize everyone. He also does have in the back of his mind a bit of attention, knowing about the cops and knowing that this is a bit grisly, and he has blood splattered all over the front of his suit that he wore earlier. Hello. And he sort of stammers and looks a little. He's out of it a little bit from that brief moment of frenzy. Long time no see. And he will sort of shuffle over to everyone.
Marcus is desperately trying to get the tongue to stop attaching to his arm.
Mm-hmm.
Cram it into the box. While everybody else is having this pleasant conversation, Marcus is still freaking out.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. Like, once she says that we should get going, she notices Marcus freaking out, walks over to him. You want some help?
Tear it off, put it in the box. Tear it off, and put it in the box. Don't let me look at it. Tear it off, and put it in the box.
Then it's going to yank. And
Please roll. Go ahead. Please roll your resolve plus composure.
Are you saying me?
Ben.
Oh, Ben. Can I roll occult to see if I understand what the heck the box is, or would that not matter?
No, it's the box.
It's just a box?
Box was designed by yours true, the guy who's holding it.
The box is alder and yew on the exterior, but with it open, you can see the copper and steel have been worked on the interior surfaces. There's a bed of black salt in the base, and the gems on it are, you'd have to roll occult to get anything more, but
then that's good enough. I just wanted a cursory understanding of what it was. That's good enough. Then, if you can see all that material going into it, that's enough.
Yeah, it's a very ornate box made of, and it's got metalwork on the interior, black salt, and stones set into the surface on the top. And it's got a codex type cryptic key lock. Not a standard key lock, but Angels and Demons, a codex.
Got it.
Ben, how'd you roll?
I already rolled.
Yeah.
There is, as Ben, you all who are able to watch this happen, as Ben reaches towards Marcus's arm, there's a freezing moment. It is as if both Marcus and Ben are frozen in time while the rest of the world keeps spinning. It's just a split second, but you can swear that's what happened. Like, they became statues, but they're still kind of ambulatorily unalive. But in that moment, as Ben reaches for both hands, wrapping our hands around the sudden enough to wrap around Marcus's wrist and begin of its own volition, that slimy, discovered approximation of a sea cucumber with a cow's tongue dissonant, those small prehensile hardened fibers that are on a cat's tongue, but imagine them all wet and feeling as if it's a mop coated in slime being rub across you. That's what Ben feels, and she also feels much like Marcus, though for him it was more of a simple, straightforward egg factor, being as connected as Ben seeks to be, chooses to be, and pursues to be Animal King. There is a mind invading space. There's a mind in it. It is, in fact, a mind. It feels like touching and being rubbed with slime, or accurately having to pick up diarrheal feces after your dog. Her mind gags. Her body freezes. She realizes that she can't put her hands away, as it and she and Marcus are connected far more intimately than Ben has ever wanted to be connected with anything able to think and remember. It is a worse version of your attempting to eat.
With Ben there actually trying to grab the damn thing, I'm going to add my efforts to remove it and move it towards the box. So I'm imagining right now, I was trying to grab it out of a human head. There were wrists, there were hands wrapped around my wrist. So when I got it loose, you said it tried to start attaching to me. So I imagine it moving up my hand
Yep, curling around wrist and going as it undulates. You can feel the lightest impression of the kiss as it is absorbing the vitae from the burned flesh as it slides along your skin up your.
Ben tries to grab it. It's halfway up my hand. I'm going to take my whole hand while she's trying to grab it, put it in the box. I'm taking my whole hand, putting it in the box.
Are you sure you don't want to just rip off your whole arm and just...
I'm almost there. No, I can't.
You know,
if
Leonetti had
right now, but if I can get it in the box, because it's attached to me, if I put my hand in the box, then the tongue is in the box, which is part A of my plan. Part B of my plan is my hand not being in the box.
Leonetti has pretty high resolve and composure.
Everybody is welcome.
Yeah.
Thing off.
Leonetti is seeing this as seeing the Ben that he's seen quite strong and was quite capable of freezing up. He's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go help. This thing is not good. Let's try to deal with this as quick as possible.
So now my left hand is completely inside the box. The tongue is attached to my wrist and hand. I am trying to break it off with the help of Ben. That's right there.
While they're doing that, I'm gonna keep watch and make sure no ne'er-do-wells start coming.
The ne'er-do-wells are in here with you. They are the cultists. The reason why the cultists struck with the doctor in regards to Orpheus, the tale of Orpheus. There was a cult of Bacchus, and they ended Orpheus, the actual time where he died, not just visited the land of the dead. They tore him limb from limb. That's what the cultists are doing to themselves and casting around for victims, which would be the nearest person, being Mason. Their insanity has reached a fever pitch.
So I gotta cut up some cultists. Yay.
Marking them big.
Oh, this time Mason is attacking the cultists just to make sure they stay down while they're dealing with that then.
Would it... I kind of want to try... Can I...
Actually, instead of attacking... Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna... Could I cast Shadow Cast the Oblivion on the tongue? Would that do anything? I think I could try cloaking it in shadow. Would that reduce its... I don't know.
Like the Harry Potter spell? Oblivion?
No.
If that is what you would like to try, you are more than free to do so.
I don't have anything better to do, I think, so let's give it a shot.
I also said that I was going to go and take and pull it off as well.
I'll wait for them to struggle just a little bit more before I try that.
But actually, before Mason starts slicing them up, he wants to scan them to see if there is any talking to them.
Unfortunately, I don't have a guest in my space, so I can't exactly scream as madly as they are. No growl with the slurred inflection necessary. These cultists have been privy to and witness to the actual definition of. Imagine willfully, gleefully digging up the corpses of recently ghost level corpses, i.e. corpses that have been purposely targeting women and small. Watching as
Okay, I have my answer then. Yeah, I'm just killing them. They're disgusting and they must die. You know, the way of the Toreador.
Ben, the touch of this thing feels like the remnants of the previous most disgusting person who was attempting to French kiss you. That disgusting scent and the feel of the scraping, almost paper weight thin lips, making way for that almost dry tongue that moves around roughly the size of two pinkies side by side, moving inside. That's what this feels like, and that's the weight on Ben's mind. Would Ben attempt to tear free or continue with her task?
Oh, we don't like this. We don't like it.
I've been doing this since the beginning of combat. Suck it up, Buttercup.
We don't like it. So, go to their happy place. They're going to go to their happy place. They're going to think about flying and having wings and being anywhere else but this.
All right, that being the case, both you and Leonti, there is an additional automatic success for getting arm inside the box, but tearing it free of Marcus still requires those additional successes. So could both you, Leonetti, roll your resolve and composure? The combined efforts of you all gritting through it manages to free it, and as you do, you see a spray of Marcus's vitae as it was still sucking on him, and even with his arm inside the box, it was literally pulling the vitae from his skin, burned into itself, growing with its connection to him and to you. Leonti, the moment you touch it, you are back during basic. You are in the gas chamber, your gas mask, and as the gas fills the bottom portion of the bench where you were sitting and begins to waft through, your bowels empty, as they never have, except for it's not liquid. It is, well, it quantifies as liquid, but it comes from the place and it slides down leg, down your pants, filling your boot. And normally when people release their bowels, there's an eventual end, except for it keeps filling. And somehow, unlike in reality, when you were back during basic and your boots fit perfectly, at least where they were bloused, your boots are large enough to absorb more and more, begin to swell, and the squelch of your toes
This is disgusting. Oh.
That's what you're touching. That's what happens when you lay hands on this, and you will pry it free of Marcus's skin. Everywhere it touched Marcus's skin, there's a bubbling and blistering beginning. And it's not the bubble and blister of heat damage or burn damage. It is the bubble and blister that is, you've never been contagious. You've never actually suffered such, but it is the syphilitic herpes-like bubbles and pustules that sprout along his floor everywhere that it's touched.
Yeah, next time you guys get to go for the tongue first.
May I chip in? Can I chip in one last?
Isn't it already in the book?
Yes, it's already in the box.
Yeah, it's already in the box. I just realized something. It was sucking on Marcus's vitae, his blood, basically. And this thought just popped in my head. So Mason turns around and goes, "Hey, if you guys are still," because he doesn't know you guys got the tongue off, why don't you just fill the blocks with some of their blood? It will probably like human blood more.
I slam the door, the half of the door shut, and spin the codex so that it locks. I'm like, where the fuck were you 2 minutes ago?
Killing Bartleby.
Making sure the cultists stay from bothering you guys.
Okay, maybe.
I don't mean to be hasty here, but I suppose we should be leaving. Or at least I will, if you're... I don't know exactly what's going on. This is a bit much, to say the least.
It's Dr. Grizwald, right? Wald?
Yeah.
How do you... Right?
Dr. Grizwald, yes, in fact, that is my name, my very name. A pleasure to see you, sir. Oh, excuse me, my memory is usually fairly decent, but your names are all not coming to me exactly at the moment. I'm sure it will be returning soon, though.
You're fine.
And Eddie walks up to him, just looking into his face and like, I know you from somewhere. Where?
Ben is heading for the stairs.
When Duma says Grizwald this last time, because he's been distracted for a little while, he slowly turns around and looks at the doctor.
By gum, I think you tried to kill me. You're an assassin.
Grizwald.
Yes.
Duma Grizwald.
In fact, that is my very name. Proud kin of Kuka Lane. In fact, I always say. To friends,
Is it
anyway.
more accurate to say not Dr. Grizwald, but Accountant Grizwald?
Mason also heads for the stairs.
Yes, I was an accountant. I counted many things, but perhaps this isn't the time to be getting into nitty gritty.
As we should talk. And then I
Talk later.
I lean real close to Grizwald, holding the box, making sure it stays closed. And I just whisper in his ear, technophage. And then I walk out of the room.
Ben, getting to the top of the stairs. Which stairs did you use? The one that you entered or the one that was opposite of it?
Seeing as how they don't know their way around it, they're gonna go up the way they came. Because that's the only way they know to get back to the car.
When you get to the top of the stairs, the church, which was all bright and cheery as you entered, is dark. Not pitch black, but everything has a hue of gray. There's the smell dust, as if there hasn't been anything or anyone in this place in years. There's a chill to the air, and while you don't see anyone or anything moving, just to your left and to your right, moving across the space in front of you, judging by the way that the sounds reach your ear, you hear, oh my God, please don't let her. She's gonna help us. And the voices bounce in between the pews. There's no one in front of you. There's nothing. In fact, it looks as if the space has been unoccupied. Again, years. It's filled with dust. There's a certain closed space. The windows, which you could see the entirety of the street, are caked with dirt and dust as if this place has been abandoned years. Oh my God, I'll let her see you. Push her this way.
Marcus stays center, holding the box close to him, but keeping an eye on Grizwald.
Then drops into kind of like a crouch walk, leaning on their training, and tries to be as quiet as possible, working their way towards the door.
Oh my God, get away. Oh my God, that's not get out. Oh my God, I was here. And it's moving across the space, realm. You don't hear the skittering of anyone moving. You hear the voices moving from pew to pew, watching you, or moving around the side of the room, but there's no one there.
Okay, Mason just stands still, closes his eyes, and just listens and heightens his senses.
Excellent. Would you be so kind as to roll wits and awareness?
Plus aspects, or
No, just wits and awareness, heightened senses.
what's awareness? It's alright.
I'm sorry, some things are happening. What has happened? What's going on right now?
Anger is happening right now.
That is very, very disappointing.
There's someone skittering upstairs or along the pews, and we're trying to figure out. I don't think me and you have left the basement though yet.
Yeah. I'm still just being like, okay, you're going to have to, in response to that, you're the bounty hunter that tried to kill me. It's like, do you have any idea how little that narrows it down?
Mason, standing still, forcing your mind to be as empty as possible, which isn't as difficult as I tend to believe. Having the ability to take flights of fancy means that you are able to inhabit that space. Not for long, you're still able to get there a little easier than most, with your mind being able to encompass and encapsulate worlds of imagining strange happenstances all the time. As you do so, the whispers take on Marion's voice. Now, Mason, you know that will not do. I can't let you go there dressed like that. You look like some rapscallion. And I bet you didn't even bring any alternative outfits to suit what you might be going into. God knows how many people are out there those doors over there. I don't feel so bad about you choosing to represent me in less than your best. We understand how willful of a child. But think about representing yourself in such a manner. You look as if you have been daubing in the mud simply because it was there.
Wait, who the fuck is talking right now?
Marion. As soon as he hears Marion's voice, he opens his eyes quickly and tries to stop listening.
Oh my God, that's right. Oh my.
For Leonetti, Marion is my sire and a person I rather have a complicated relationship with. I'll just say that.
Yeah, that's understandable.
While downstairs in the basement, the cultists, bleeding, wrecked, too divested of energy and often amongst them blood to do more, sit and die in this unlit, dank basement. The drip of leaky pipes echoing off the walls, the all too close piles and piles of detritus sitting all over the space, the pool of leakage along the dirty linoleum floors gives you the feeling of a place you'd rather not be, because there very much is something in the shadows. There very much is something just at the edge of vision. The space, which had been warm, almost and inviting ritualistic activities, is suddenly cold. The blood that had been on the soft breeze of movement throughout the space seems as it has been long cooled. The remnants of separated limbs having fallen under boxes and upturned benches. Visited you, good Dr. Leonetti. Your associates remembers and Peor have exited up the stairs.
Well, Leonetti's first instinct is to go up the stairs, but then through the vile blood of human, the vile smell of human blood, which you guys know, the smell of vampiric blood enters his nose, and he goes, he remembers that there's a fine meat being ready to eat. His first instinct is to go. It's not worth it, but deep within stirs both the beast and a uncontrollable desire to just do it.
So you go moving boxes, sliding plastic bins that have not been in use since the late 70s aside, and for where bodies fell. There's a stain. Looks like there's clearly a stain. There's brown, soaked in green on the linoleum floor. You move more boxes looking for. Between that and the constant thing of the pipes overhead,
Duma will notice that Bionti is pulling apart the boxes and has seemingly been distracted from their conversation, and he will tentatively approach and glance into the abyss, the shadowy kind of shrouded area. And there's no we should check for bodies, I suppose, but this darkness reminds me of me sire. Is it possible that shadows have eaten the... I don't know, I'm a bit... This is out of my realm, unfortunately. I don't sense anyone. Maybe we should be... I think I'll take my leave, sir. Good day.
Would you be so kind as to roll your wits plus oblivion, as your eyes, when triggering the oblivion sight, there is a black occlusion again soaking in from the edges for anybody that's noticing or watching, and it encapsulates the entirety of your pupils, and that occlusion begins to wisp as if it is made of a ghostly smoke. And as you begin staring in boxes that he's moving, you realize that those are not, in fact, boxes. Those are, in fact, bits and pieces of coffins. The bottom half, the top half, there's the top of a lid, there's the lining, and around you, what you believe previously were just boxes are in fact all of the materials necessary to put together a coffin. not the square and modern chambers that people bury their beloved in, but the actual coffins, those that form and adhere to the general shape, that shape that everyone knows and actually see. You see bits and pieces, and there's piles and piles of tickets, mortuary tickets from the olden days when those grieving family upon the funeral home receiving their body. And you realize that this space that you thought was, in fact, the basement of a mortuary or a funeral of some sort, or it's a church that did such rites in-house. You can smell the cloying stench of embalming fluid. You can hear I am dead. Most people think that the between this and the next is a silent grave, and it is in some spaces, but in areas where the dead live, it takes on a pale imitation of life, and that's what abounds around you. You see Leonti as what he is, a nearly soulless ambulatory, very much like the first images of zombie dead. His skin sallow, eye, sunken, heart there for you to see, frozen up, pierced. And you see the silent witnesses, those of the recently dead, who are strong enough in their conviction to remain. They haven't crossed over. They're just there out of reach, watching. There's some of them with their mouths aghast and agog. You all are desecrating their space. You are tossing fetters left and right, their connective tissue to this world, trampling over those who are dead and too dead to move out of your, those who are quarreling and pulling.
Duma will pull on Leonti's shoulder. Mate, you're looking a bit dropsy. Like you've got dropsy, like you're swelling like a cadaver, mate. There's something not right about this place. We should be going. I definitely need to be going. I cannot stay here. And
Time go.
Okay. How dare speak to me like this? And Duma will raise his voice and shout into the darkness. It's sort of looking like he's in a trance almost. How dare speak to me? Are you the two-eyed Dan? Who are you?
Leonti and Eddie, have you ever had the opportunity to watch as someone loses all sight as their eyes cataract with?
Wait, what?
Moving the boxes, and as the doctor closes on you to try to get attention, you look him in the face. That's what you do, and pay attention because that's where people initially design their plans for seasons, where they plan their evil, their microexpressions giving away the dead who have nothing more than the facsimile of living. Those microexpressions still appear from time to time. So as he reaches out for you, pause mid-moving boxes and to his eyes, and you realize that they're there. There is a smokeless ebony darkness wisping out of his eyes.
As he comes back to reality about the situation, about what has happened with the fuckery of one's mind that has been going on, and where this area is, and what this guy looks how he looks. Leonidas like decides, okay, I don't care anymore, and grabs and just picks up Dr. Durimo.
Duma. Grizwald. You can call me.
Griswold. I'll just call him Griswold.
Or the Grizz, whatever you want to do.
Griswold. I pick up Griswold and decide to go up the stairs. It wasn't worth it. He couldn't find it within a reasonable amount of time. He doesn't need it.
As you take flight, moving up the steps as quickly as possible, lifting up Grizwald isn't much of an issue. The fact that he's talking to beings and people and nothing that's there is a bit worrying, a bit troubling. So much so that you nearly bowl Mason over. You stopped at the top of the stairs, just inside the. And as you're nearly bowled over Mason, what is it that you're doing? That you're saying? How are you respond with Nettie suddenly there, having stepped out of the just behind you?
Well, I was expecting him to walk out of the room.
No, you were expecting him to come up the stairs.
Oh, wait. Yeah. I would look puzzled and a little bit startled because I was kind of expecting someone else to come through there.
Wait, where did I go through?
The door leading up the top of the stairs. But the moment as you step through the doorway, there aren't any stairs behind. And there's a whisper of movement about the space. Ben and Marcus are to the front, the dirty, unwashed glass of the front wall where the door entered in was. The space clearly hasn't been occupied, cleaned, or lived in years. And there's a whisper happening just at the edge of your vision, coming with movement or denoting their first is over right. No, wait, it's a left. Wait, no, it's right in front of me, but there's nothing there.
Okay.
Marcus, you're nearly to the front door. Do you try to pull it open?
I'm a little obsessed with keeping the box closed, so I wait for our bigger hitters to come up front because we've got to cross 100 yards from the front door of the church to the side door of the van. So I just want to get from point A to point B without ever having to relinquish any kind of control over this box. And seeing Mason waiting for Leonti, I'm like physically manifesting, hurry the fuck up without actually saying. But now that I have a moment at Leonte actually getting to the top of the stairs, meeting up with Mason and Ben next to me, I'm like, we need to go. We need to leave.
What'd you say, Ben?
Ben has had just about a bucket nap of spooky whispered voices. They give no more fucks. They're kicking the door down and getting the fuck out.
Same goes for Mason. He is done.
So, would you do me a favor? Count off a rear back and kick. How long do you think it would take? Give me a second. Like, practice mentally. Like, you get your foot back, you lean into it, kick forward. The moment your foot touches. Okay. So 2.5 seconds in, the whispers go to go. And everyone be so kind as to go ahead. Resolve and awareness. If you miss by 3, the sudden change and manifestation of the spirits, the fact that Duma can actually see amassing, will not let you go.
So I see a spirit amassing in the door?
No, you see several dozens growing to half a decay. Some of them are wearing how they die upon their soul stuff. And they're filing out of the stairs recently, where you were looking down at the stairs, and then the moment that you broke through the pane of the door into the church proper, it's just a... In fact, it's a room that the priest could have lived in. There's a chair, there's a raggedy, clean, and unused bed, falling pieces on a steel frame. There are slippers which would clearly belong to whoever was formerly the priest here. There's a undrunken corner of a bottle of whiskey on the nightstand next to the bed. And there's a lamp that is older than you are by twice. And out of that room, where there's just, there are 2, 4, 6 and more, and they're pulling out of that room, filing, lining up where you are and the door. And it's almost as if they are forming a gauntlet.
You said resolve plus awareness.
Either awareness or
with difficulty of 3.
yes. The door shatters out in a puff of smoke and shattered steel. The glass falling away, turning out to be wooden boards as it hits the ground outside of the church. You can see through the doorway. You feel her hands on your shoulders, her fingers massaging you the exact way that you missed. Because not everything was bad. In fact, some portions of your education was great. It was really connective. But you feel her massage and rubbing the base of her head, her fingers tickling into your hair, massaging your scalp. You can almost smell the girls who are in the shower going to play with you and her this evening. Her lilac and jasmine scents fill your face. If you close your eyes, you are sure to hear record player in just the distance. Nat King Cole cream away. Her glass of wine on the table just there next to the bed. Your hand rolled cigarette on your lips. You know that if you stay this time, things will be different. You know, if you didn't fight for things would be different, it would be good. It would only be the good. Bad wouldn't have to happen. Those educational moments wouldn't have to take place. You know better now. You are better now. This can only be the good. She She's not going to cling to you like she's not going to hold you prisoner to your needs and your wants anymore.
Yeah, but it's not reality.
Marcus is trying to push forward. The haven't paid attention to the whisper, so push forward.
If Duma is in control, the professor would, I think, be fascinated by seeing some sort of seeing the spirits and seeing maybe the visage of oblivion cast over all of them. But he would maybe try to just draw attention to them because he's intellectually curious about it.
Nor dread, nor hope attend a dying animal. A man awaits his end, dreading and helping all. Many times he died, and many times he rose again. Great man in his pride, confronting murderous men. Casts derision upon suppression of breath. He knows death to the bone, and man has created death.
And sort of speaking maybe in a trance to draw their attention and get them to reply.
There's a pause as they open their mouths. And you watch it happen from one next to the next, to the next, down and around and back. And while your senses are still at that other side of the veil, you are personally still here as well. And there's a reaching towards you, a beseeching. A little closer. Just a little closer. Come a little closer. They each begin to beckon you towards them. No one besides Mason is that resolve plus let's do this. There we go.
What was the other one besides awareness?
Or occult.
Duma would not approach them, but he would engage in conversation if he could resist anyone.
Are we all rolling, or is it
Yes.
just people?
No, you're all rolling.
Occult plus what?
Resolved.
Wait, what was it again? I thought it was. Wait, what are the possible things that we could roll for it?
It was resolve plus composure. Yeah. Well, I guess it doesn't matter either way. I only have 2 in a call. So.
Wait. Okay. What
did resolve
what are the
plus
possible
composure?
roles that resolve plus composure or? Because I think that I rolled mine wrong because I did wits and awareness. So what is the roll? I'm getting pretty confused now.
Occult plus resolve.
Composure, resolve, awareness, or occult. Okay, got it. I did it correctly then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine.
Marcus' only focus right now is moving the box outside of the building. That's all he cares about. He wants to get the nasty, ugly tongue out of here.
So Ben, having kicked open the door, the steel going flying, the glass shattering outwards, when it makes contact outside of the church building itself, the glass turns to wood, as if you kicked open a building that has been boarded up, which isn't a possibility because you can see through those dirty glass, that dirty window, and it hasn't been boarded up. But you take a step out, look back, and Marcus is frozen in space, attempting to push the box forward. There's an effort on his chin as if he is attempting to swim while carrying a Cadillac on his back. You look past him and you see Mason in a moment of almost bliss, his eyes closed and clearly listening to something that only he and angels can. While Leonti roars and barks and snaps at the bodies who are attempting to hold him in place. The bodies of each contract, each mission, each of his successful kills. They are there and attempting to pull him into the nothing that is their lives now. But he is strong enough, determined enough to kill them again. And as he roars and rails and fights against the superb invisible forces, he's moving across the floor. And he's yelling, "I'm glad I killed you. You deserved it. How dare you? You shouldn't have been with her to begin with." And he's listing off the many ways that he has ended people's lives. And each time he does so, he moves closer and closer to the door. Marcus is pushing, trying, the effort. And there's something about this moment, that one kid. There's something about this moment that harkens back to the very real moments of your past. Being singular. It stops you from losing. Being part of a team. She
being on the other side is going to reach just one arm back in and try to connect with Marcus and pull him towards her.
There's no way that it's happening. Marcus' mind knows not the case, but he's back on that helicopter, bag over his head, with his escorts informing him that while, yes, immortality stretches out before everyone, if they were to push him from the helicopter at this height, he would be worse than dead. He would be alive and a vegetable trapped in his own flesh, unable to move or escape the sun's rays. And there is a truce or wish fulfillment in representing information. And unlike the past, where he landed at the private airstrip and they pushed him into the plane, no, this time they're serious, not only being honest about their wish to do so, but following through on it. And he can feel the wind buffet around him so fiercely that it begins tearing at his clothes, and the hood over his head flies off and the ground rushes up to meet him. And just before he crashes, Ben there, pulling him out of the air as if he was a butterfly, holding him aloft to keep him crashing on the ground. And he's suddenly outside of the building. He is no longer lying on the ground, and the box is in his hand. And Ben is posted against the door jamb, holding him outside. Looking inside the church, Ben and Marcus see Leonti move forward, talking to things that are not there, but clearly reciting the way and manner in which he ended their existence. And Mason blissfully, in whatever moment he's in, standing still. And the doctor, engaging much like Leonti, but not moving. He's looking left and right and talking and motioning towards, and clearly engaged in a conversation that is probably the best he ever had, as the secrets of this world and the next are revealed to him. What do you?
Is Duma aware of an influence taking control of him, or is he too absorbed in this conversation?
If you had someone telling you how the species of man came into being, rise and fall of the old Scottish Empire before the Bruce, and telling you the secrets of how the Tuatha defeated the Fomori, telling you the tales of how the two tribes that were Scot and Irish separated and how the kingdoms were founded, would you leave? Would you put down your pint?
No, I don't think Duma would leave. I think he would try to lecture and to engage in scholarly discussion. Is it possible to use like shadow cloak to increase his stability in this conversation, or is there? It's totally he's going to be completely sunken into their influence.
I just need to know who is physically closest to me, other than Ben.
The aunties are striding toward the door, but he's engaged in an argument. Clearly deceased, non-actually their entities. He's actually 100% free of the influence. In fact, he's daring them to step into this world so he can kill them again.
And after Leonti, it's Mason, and then Dr. Grizwald?
Yes.
Okay.
I love that. It's like, Leonti, all these beings that, these are all that you killed, all that. And he's like, okay, bet, come out here again. I will kill you again.
At this point, Marcus hands the box to Ben, says, hold the lid down just in case. I'll be right back. And he blinks behind Mason and just pushes him towards the door as hard as he can with his strength 4.
Because of the inherent risk to Marcus's self, you will get a sacrificial bonus for both you and pushing Marcus. You go ahead and roll your strength plus either awareness or occult.
Awareness or occult?
Yep.
Yeah, it makes no difference. They're the same. And I'm just pushing Mason out towards Ben as hard as I can. And I'm burning willpower. You son of a motherless.
Wow.
Ben, you watch him disappear from standing next to you inside the church behind Marcus, and he shoves. Marcus goes staggering forward and falls into the arms of nothing that's there. Literally for a split second, you can see these pale arms hold him into place. Instead of him crashing against the floor and sliding past Leonti, he falls into these arms and is righted. That, however, does give Mason the opportunity to give a resolve plus either awareness or a cult roll to snap out of it.
Okay.
Now, silly, why are you rolling out of the bed? You know that is no way for us to behave. Yeah, it's about time you have another drink. The girls will be done shortly and we can get down to business, as it were. Now remember, this time, instead of with them over the edge, we glide along next to their moment isn't our moment. Their moment is their moment. We are merely witness. Leonti, as Mason crashes, what do you do?
Leonti, seeing his employer crashing down, decides to pick him up and bring him with him, because Leonti's getting out of here, and like hell, he's going to leave his employer behind.
Ben, is there anything that you're doing?
Ben is going to tap the box under their arm to keep the lid closed, but free their hands so they can
Don't say that too loud. All right, so when Marcus first made it to Gary, he was sure they was enough and no one would ever come looking for him. He had been dropped here with the idea of him disappearing. He had been introduced to Modius and left to his own devices. He had met the, at that time, full court of Gary, and there was nothing here for him. But slowly, through happenstance and need, Tommy, Ben, a good doctor, and Mason, and things started to gel and a life began to form. And he knows there was a process to it. Part of his ability was being no one more is known beneath notice. He didn't stand out in either real direction, living in his hermitage. And that's where he is now, those halcyon glory days of that peace. There was the rule and the street, and he was free of being penalized by both. There was a week's worth of labor to get the market up and running. He began making contact with Adam, and everything was peaceful. And that's where he is now, knowing that if he makes one small decision to the left or to the right, he can avoid all of the troubles that led him to... Where is he again? Oh, that's right. He's at the farmer's market. The area is peaceful. And if he makes the right decisions, helps the right people, nothing has to end badly.
Marcus has a stupefied, happy look on his face while he's still in the church.
So, with Marcus and the doctor caught up in the moment, with Ben leaning against the door jamb, looking towards Mason and the auntie, we will take our quick break here. It's 39 after the hour. We will be back at 49 after the hour. Thanks, everybody. Everybody back?
Yeah. More or less.
I'm back.
Ben!
I'm still here.
No, you're Duma. You're not Ben.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I know I'm not been. I'm not that disassociated yet.
Ben!
Okay.
Somebody poke Ben. Well, Ben's the only one that's outside of the box right now, so...
Yes, Ben is outside of the kill box.
Don't call it that.
Oh, sorry. I should have said spoiler. Spoiler warning. This is officially your spoiler warning. There is a ticking clock at play, and we are coming up on the last possible round for you. Damage. So, we need some definitive action, just so that you guys are aware. Mechanically, there is a time period before we begin attacking, and we are on the last round. That peacefulness thus far.
I think the only problem for me is Duma has no impetus to leave. I mean, I could have him try to struggle, but I don't know. I feel like he'd like to have a conversation. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's not realistic, but
Well, it is realistic because he has the opportunity knowledge that. Okay, so everyone knows that the Tuatha came from the sea. Everyone knows, everyone understands it. It's in every myth. But what you don't understand, no one ever bothers to question where the Tuatha come. They came from the sea when they arrived here, but to get to the sea, they left from somewhere else. Now, if you compare all the myths from the time Tuatha, you notice that roughly around the same time, the gods of Africa ascended the ladder into heaven because the cries of mankind had gotten so fucking annoying, right? Now, if you look at where Africa is, compared to where the Ire is, it makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Climbing up the ladder, hopping into the sea, moving away north and far, sailing. Why is it you think that there are two places in the world with such a proliferation of redheads? Africa and the islands. That's impossible. But it is.
Where did that accent come from?
Think about how...
It's pretty good.
Think about how the Tuatha thrive. Tall men and women of bronze, made of metal, able to breathe fire. What does that sound like to you if you discount the clear exaggeration? You know, we've all been prone to exaggeration for many a year. Then you mix in the fact that purportedly in Caledonia, in Britain, underneath the throne that the Queen sits upon, there's the actual throne of Israel. Where do you think that comes from? Now, after all, don't say that there's a such thing as the Middle East. It's not really Middle East, is it, when you think about it? Look at the geography. And compare it to how all of those things conspire and meld together. And that's the conversation that Doom is having. These ghosts, these spirits.
Just goes on and on and on.
Exactly. Because fucking historians can talk.
Oh yeah, I know. That happens in my history class. It was fun.
Fuckers never shut the fuck up.
Yeah, because there's an endless amount of details and facts that can be debated and discussed to iron out some form of truth.
Truth is all it's an illusion to some extent. It's all based on perspective if you value perspective, but valuing perspective is its own value. You know, you have to, if you're not willing to hold that value, maybe there's some absolute to it. I don't know.
Can we rebel against the vision or no? Are we or am I entranced? Even though I know
you are effectively entranced. What would require is making it outside for you to get an opportunity to have another re-entered after escaping. But until that moment, and Leonti, luckily, or Mason is dragging him toward the door, and Ben is reaching towards him. Now, Ben, are you back yet?
Yeah, I've been here.
So, Leonti, you have Mason dragging him as you.
I throw him. I give him to Ben. And like, I guess I'll go get the other two.
Ben holding the box under your arm. Ben holding the box on your arm and having Mason thrust into them. What is it that Ben is doing?
Ben tightens her arm down so that the box doesn't get lost and kind of swings her and Mason away from the door so that he's completely outside.
Okay. And for Mason, as you and Marion divvy up the proceeds of the evening's game, you have a buxom redhead under your right arm. You have a tall blonde who is off of some ship. Boyfriend just sailed away on the Ticonderoga, and she will be lonely for a minimum of 3 years as he sails. And you all are preparing to dive into the full administrations of might of the Clan of the Rose. You are going to give these ladies the best moment of their lives. And then you plan on taking a portion of that back into yourself. And as you suckle at one's neck and kiss the other cheek, your fingers are coaxing and urging. You're doused with cold water. You're in the night air. When you look around you, there's a boarded up church just behind Ben. And you can taste pressure nail number 5 on your lips. That was the blonde. You remember freeing the... Why is the church boarded up? It was all glass when you arrived.
Wait, vampires, thank God. Well, if they can, then he says out loud, "Thank God," and yells, "No more fucking visions." Why is the church
Just imagining that in my head, and it's amazing.
And Nancy, as you're moving back in, Marcus is there, and the blissful look on his face, and the doctor is there, and there's a bliss of knowledge obtained and shared, and he's full in that moment. What do you do?
I grab Mason by the collar, go over to the doctor, grab him by his collar, and just start walking back, dragging both of them.
And there's that check has slaughtered 6 villages to a list. Notable kills, but the fact that he so many, declaring himself a fighter for the people while he destroyed their futures, brings and since don't understand, did nothing when you failed me. 2 more rows in my place. You should not have done what you did. And then to do so like a coward. At least everyone I killed myself. I looked on them as the light died from their eyes. You ran like a coward.
Do I roll for a...
Nope.
Then he looks at this, and then he's just like, who fucking cares? Who cares about honor? You dead dog. Let me tell you what honor gets you. 6 feet in the ground. I tried, but I have something to live for. Petty honor? Honor of kills? Who fucking cares? Get out of my sight, you hordic dog, yelling about an idea that you have no idea, that you don't understand. Yelling about a situation you have no idea. Get the fuck out of my face.
And as you make the door, you step outside, dragging the doctor and Marcus with you. There's a wail that erupts. And even standing outside the door, even free of this space, you can feel the sheer painful bombardment of that scream. It is a banshee wail magnified several powers beyond itself. The building shake the force of the boards swell and then drop back into place. The roof shingles clatter to the ground. And you all are out in the cool night air.
Well, how was everyone's little daydream?
Kind of stops. She's just running across the street towards the van. Time to.
Marcus
Agreed.
follows in, and as soon as he gets within range, he takes possession of the box.
Yeah, Leonetti's running, and he's still holding on to the doctor and dragging him, being like, I still don't know who, I still can't remember who the fuck you are, but I'm bringing you along just because.
No, wait, what are you doing? That was an imprecation for sure, but what the nature of it was divine.
No, you're coming with me. I don't care about your historian. If that historian thing pleasured you or anything, I don't fucking care about the orgasmic pleasures of debating history, but you're coming with me.
Once Marcus gets control of the box, he goes into the back of the van and basically huddles around it like a cat protecting its kits.
That was no pseudomancy. That was real. That was beyond the country from which no returns. And Duma's a little too overwhelmed, I think, to fight. But I think he would under certain circumstances. But yeah, he will relent and.
Leonetti's only doing this because he's like, who the fuck are you? I'm going to get to the bottom of this before you leave.
Understood.
He's like, I don't know who the fuck you are, but I feel like I should, and that pisses me off, and it feels like I should be pissed off at you, but I don't know why the fuck I should, so you're staying until I figure that fucking shit out.
Well, I suppose if that's your attitude about all this after what just transpired, perhaps there's a place that's not so saturnine that we might attend to, maybe, possibly.
I mean, first confirming that we succeeded this job, and then getting our reward.
I don't know anything about a job or a reward, so keep me out of that.
Oh, don't worry, you will be.
Behind the wheel, and she is sticking her head out the window and counting down, and very serious about her countdown. And anybody that is not in the van by the time she reaches one is getting left the fuck behind.
Leonetti is just like, okay, starting to run and being like, I'm getting there.
Marcus is curled up in the fetal position around the box in the back of the van. That's his position.
Sits down in the van, and basically, if he's the last one in, just slaps on the side of the, what they do when everybody's in, just hits the side of the car.
I suppose I'll get in, although your driver seems a bit sententious. I don't know.
Yep. Leonetti, shows him a place to sit right on the other side of him and is like, and puts his hand on his revolver, being like, "Don't make any funny moves. Just don't."
I'm an austere sort of fellow, so don't accuse me of any comedy.
Ben, where are you driving to?
We're going to get rid of this fucking box. I'm done. Don't want no more adventures and wizards tonight.
Gary, the ones that hired us, let them deal with this fucking nightmare.
That's what I'm saying. They get the box back.
Darn, I forgot to bring proof of Beelzebub's death. Well, I'm not going back in there. So if they want to confirm it themselves, they can go into that.
We didn't take the arm. We were down there, right? We didn't take the arm.
But I had to I would have gotten it, and then I had to drag two guys out of that building.
You dropped the arm?
How the fuck would I be pulling both of you by your collars out of the door? It was either there. Well, I might have dropped it. I probably would have dropped it with. Okay, wait. I might actually have it still, because if I would have dropped it at the door, grabbed you two. You would have ran, so I could have picked it up again.
Yeah, but you drug both of them out at the same time, so you.
I know, but I was already almost all the way out, and still had it. So
you were roughly halfway across the floor.
That tongue of yours, Marcus. Whatchamacallit, evidence enough?
I mean, it could be.
The downside.
Hey, hold on a second. I've got his blood all over me. Ain't that good enough? Just test the blood.
The downside is that Bartleby should be old enough that if we had actually killed him, he should have dusted.
Do you say this in character? Because that was a very important clue that I was hoping no one caught.
I mentioned this at the point where we are driving away. Because
Leonetti looks at him and just like
capturing the tongue. Marcus only wanted to capture the tongue, but as we're driving away, I'm like, how old was Bartleby? Because he should have turned to dust.
Leonetti just looks at him and just like, the fuck?
Did his head not get removed?
Yeah, wasn't his head removed? I know.
Or was it only
I'm pretty sure that I blasted a hole through his brain.
You blasted a hole through his head, yes.
Yeah, but
I don't mean
you have to sever his neck from his body to finalize his death.
Fuck.
But
I couldn't find the body.
Didn't Bean do that though? She said
No.
she was gonna.
His arm.
That was Ben's intention. Unfortunately, with 2 successes, both of their roles to accomplish such, it was no way that they would have, with their eyes closed, obtained access to them.
The important thing is we have the tongue and we have the arm. We can claim success.
And that's the best we could do, because he tried to find the body and failed. He couldn't find it, so. But also, he's missing an arm. He has a hole in his head.
He's fucked up.
Yeah, he's pretty fucked up. And also, I think that we blasted the handkerchief out of his hand.
Yes. Yes, you ruined not just one missile artifact, but 2.
We've done Bartleby great harm, and we can go back to the Gary Chantry in victory.
I don't think that Bartleby is really going to be trying to get back at us. Well, he might try to get back at us, but we just pulverized him when he had the advantage. He had us under control.
Exactly.
And we still beat. And once we got out, we beat the shit out of him. and his things. I don't think he's coming back to play with people he had complete control over and then just fucked up so miserable, so spectacular.
I mean, the downside is it's Premiere and they're all about fucking paperwork. But we can say the important thing is we took the tongue away.
We took the tongue
It's a
and
magical artifact, and the Tremere will pay handsomely for that.
yeah. We
Mason,
successfully
while they were talking, Mason looks at his phone again now that he has some free time to check if he has gotten a response on his phone from Clara.
Oh yeah,
Expecting-
he also needs to check his phone.
At this point, Marcus is like, Ben, take this to Gary Chantry, the ones who put us on the bin, so I can hand off this nightmare object inside my box. Because they are going to have a better box.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Ben just busts out laughing.
Really?
Well, you have a tongue in your box.
Okay. Funny lady. Just drive.
But
Marcus is still trying to deal with the fact that he had to touch that damn thing while everybody else went for Bartleby. He was the only one who went after the fucking tongue.
and if he says that out loud, Leonetti will say this thing to him. Do you want to go back into the illusionary thing?
No, but I'd like to think that one of you would have thought to come with me. The weakest, smallest, skinniest, tallest dude in the group.
Well then, if you
Cultists.
you could only take the first part of it, then you said that you didn't want to do that, so deal with it. Bartleby is a thing that we do not want to be put under his influence yet again.
It was a symbolic scene. You got to realize that.
Grizwald, you and I have a moment. It's gonna happen.
What is that supposed to mean? I'm not some strumpet. You don't talk to me like
Once
that.
again, in the middle of his sentence, I just say the word technophage.
And Duma's short-circuited for a second, and he looks at Marcus and goes, "Oh, right. You said that to me in the middle of all of that. Right. That makes you someone I would know. That's a bit of a blunder on my part.
Being technophage, and you needed to make some money.
Yes.
You need to be on my side in this.
Looking at Mason's phone, what is his immediate response from the press body, unwashed masses that huddled on him and did their absolute best to ruin his ensemble, and realizing the effects of such?
Oh, absolutely. I want to hear Marcus.
Wants to go to the farmer's market and change his clothes. So he says that out loud. Like, can we quickly stop at farmer's market for a quick
You could stay in the
Okay.
car.
How many
I
outfits?
need you to stay in the car
You're outing.
anyway.
Let's just
So you can-
say it's like Hermione's bag.
You never know what situation.
Exactly.
And while most sensates Toreador don't strafe too far from one of their, if not their main cachet ensembles, there is a commonality that is bred into them through their training. Being prepared. even if it's just being prepared in one's ensemble. A similar goal is behind the foundation of the Agoge, to prepare one to be able to deal with whatever the world throws at and to use it to one's own end, to improve one's own dignity. The Gangram, though no clan is monolithic, is by far the most direct in that understanding. Being prepared for what the world throws at you, and not just being prepared, surviving what the world throws at you, increasing your knowledge and strength as life comes at you, but always geared towards surviving what it is. Whatever it is doesn't really matter. There's not one situation that you will not survive. It's part of their inherent laws of rearing successful children. The same can't exactly be said for the Ravnos. There is a bend every situation to what you need, so that you can either die laughing at the devil, outrunning his grasp, staying one step ahead of the desserts that the world attempts to make you suffer. And for the Magisters, for the Keeper, it's a similar idea as Blue Bloods, as the Patrician, except for it's not about understanding. It's not about surviving. It is about taking control of whatever situation, mastering every situation. And with those various outlooks having been gifted to each of our characters, each of our players, each of the beings that they are in this moment, as the van makes its way across Gary, heading towards university, the understanding that they have survived, experienced, done their best to master and control an untenable situation. Somewhere in the night, there is a Tremere who has experienced the greatest loss of his entire existence. Somewhere in the night, there are another group of Tremere waiting on the of one of the greatest known local mystical artifacts. And in the van, in the vehicle that is carrying the thing from one to the next, there is a sigh of relief. And unbeknownst to most, not that any of the quarter members would share with each other, there is a small portion of that wishes at least the happy portions of the experience was true. That those decisions that made Gary untenable, those decisions that made rearing at the hands, that those people, faces from the past really suffer in hell as much as they presented themselves to be for Leonte. That the truths of the way that the world was, the history of things, was actually accurate, traceable, and provable. And with those thoughts percolating, I want to thank you all for. I'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
It's always sad when it ends.